Hi, my name is Jeremy James McKinney, and I was a non-believer, somebody who made it a point to find people that were shaky in their beliefs and turn them to my side and away from Christ. I am also the son of Reverend Thomas James McKinney. I grew up in the Nazarene Church my entire life, and I'm not somebody who was ignorant to who Christ was, to what he could do, but I chose to see the bad and not the good. And I chose to only live in the dark and not even see the light. Growing up in the church, basically put, I grew up at the Nazarene Indian Bible College. So I was surrounded by people that called themselves Christians all day, every day, who professed to be pastors, who professed to be men and women of God, and who we had many times at nights where we'd have the spouse come over who had been abused, or the kids who had been attacked by their parents, or I saw so much hypocrisy that I turned away from Christianity. I decided at a younger age that I would make it my point to show others the futility of being a Christian. And I would find people in the church that were, either new to the church, or you could tell they weren't quite Christian, and I would bond with them, and I would kind of help them fall out of their religion if they had one. I had spent many years drinking. I had spent a little while doing drugs. When I was 25, I met and married a woman in 3 months because she was a beautiful woman, not a Christian or a decent woman in any respect. And basically, from that point on, I didn't live for anything. I guess the best way to put it is, I was completely dead inside until my daughter was born. When my daughter was born, at that point I devoted my life to being the best dad I could for her. I tried everything I could. I moved us out of state. I got a really good job and provided a nice home and what I felt needed to be, but I never introduced her to Christ. And then one day, on 6/28/08, everything changed. That was the day of my daughter's accident.
On 6/28/08, Brooke's mom and me were over at our parents' house having dinner. Rochelle and I were in the kitchen making dinner for everybody. Brooke was in the back of the house playing, and we had heard a loud noise. Her mom went into the back room to see what was going on and hollered for me to call 911. I dialed out, ran into the back of the house to see what was going on, and had found that Brooke had managed to pull a 27-inch, 75-pound TV off of a 3-foot-tall pedestal over onto herself. The paramedics got us to take us over to UNMH, which was the only level 1 trauma center. They put us in a special family waiting room, and they took Brooke's mom into the room first for the doctors to be able to see her. When they brought Rochelle out, they asked me to go in. When I got back there, it was a rather large room with a glass wall in front of you, and there's about 30 doctors just working on her as best as they could. The lead surgeon tells me to expect the worst and that my daughter was most likely going to die. The injuries were too extensive. I left the room and I went into the hallway and I fell to my knees and I prayed if the Lord would just spare my daughter, that I would give my life over to him. And I went back into the family waiting room, and I didn't say anything to anybody of what the surgeon had said to me. They came back and started telling us that she will live, but that she was going to be a vegetable. And then they came back and said that she'll live, but she'd be mentally retarded and have to relearn how to do everything. They took her upstairs to the intensive care unit, and we got to go up and see her. And they had to drill a hole in her head to put a shunt in to relieve the pressure. The third day, we heard a weird noise coming as she was in a coma. We kind of freaked out and went and got the nurses. And they said that she was breathing past the ventilator, so they had to take her off the ventilator. And On the fourth day, she completely woke up by herself and was just kind of cranky and out of it and in pain, but was there. On the sixth day, she was actually able to walk by herself, and we went a couple of times around the intensive care unit. And on the eighth day, Brooke walked out of the hospital under her own power and has been completely fine, has no injuries that have stayed with her, and is just completely healed. And the Lord used her accident to help many, many people in the church with their faith, or with others actually coming to Christ. So we actually look at it as it was His will that the accident happened, because it helped so many others, including me, come to know the Lord.
After I gave my life to the Lord and started trusting in Him that I will be okay no matter what, as long as I follow Him. I was married. I had a job making about $52,000 a year. I was living very, very comfortably. And after I gave my life over to Christ, I started noticing the people around me. To start was my wife. I had stopped doing anything and everything that could have even been considered bad, and she continued down her path that she chose. And I ended up divorced. I ended up losing my job as a layoff, and just basically having what I considered my world fall out around me. My ex-wife, very shortly after I moved out, had a gentleman move in, and they tried to take custody of my daughter, which began a year-long battle for me just to have my daughter in my life. And every day, I just prayed that the Lord would have His way and His will, and that whatever His plan is, it'll happen. And I'll just... Basically, the verse that kept coming back to me was, "Peace, be still, and know that I am Lord." And for me, I just kept my time. I waited, I prayed, I was diligent. And for the first time in years, I have peace. I am happy. I have my daughter in my life, and I am able to surround myself with good Christians, people that truly love the Lord and help me every day grow and become a better Christian and a better person. My name is Jeremy McKinney, and I am a believer, and I am learning.